Great, burpees, everyone's favorite movement. I want to go over today just a few tips on how to make sure your burpees are as efficient as they can be to work on this 15.5, assuming there's burpees, but I'm guessing that there's definitely burpees on 15.5. So a couple of things to focus on are where you place your hands in the burpees is going to make a huge difference on your efficiency of getting down on the ground. So something that you can do to help figure out your hand placement and to get it a lot more consistent is your hands should go directly right in front of your feet. A lot of people think of placing their hands like way too far away from them, and then what happens is they get in this really kind of outward position and their push-up is not as efficient as it's going to be coming down to the ground. So you're going to work on with your feet hip distance apart. When you come down into the burpee, my hands literally land right in front of my feet, and you can see it's right under my shoulders, and that's going to get me right into that perfect plank and push-up position right when I come down to the burpee. So also, another thing to keep them efficient is as I come down into the burpee, to not overly bend my knees too much to come down, but I'm actually keeping my knee bend minimal as I come down to touch the ground here. So you're keeping your hips as high as possible, and that's going to help to save your legs a little bit more over time. If you're trying to bust out a lot more burpees, is not to squat down too much to come down to the ground, but try to keep your hips as high as possible. And this means that your hamstrings are going to have to be a little bit looser in order for you to do this. So a few drills I'd like you to try just to work on hand position and coming out to a plank is just to stand tall, plant your hands, come out to a plank, and then bring your feet right back into your hands and stand back up. Now when bringing your feet in, I want you to think about extending your hips up to the ceiling versus just trying to get your knees and feet forward. So a lot of people think, okay, I have to get my feet up towards my hands, let me just try to get up here, and what happens is you end up in this really awkward toe position where your heels are up off the ground. But what you want to do is land so that you're almost kind of in that bottom of your squat position, but you want your hips to be higher so that you don't have to press as much out of your legs. So as you're coming back from your plank position here, you want to think hips up. Okay, hips up to get your feet where they need to go. And as long as you think, okay, I'm going to pop my hips up to the ceiling right from this plank position, then your feet are going to get where they need to go. So practice a few drills of hands to the ground, plank position, hips up, and then standing right back up a few times. And that'll help with a little bit of the quickness and the speed of getting up with that burpee. Now the next thing is, okay, once you're on the ground, how to prevent your arms from getting so fatigued. So if you just keep on doing a strict push-up the whole time and then think of actually having to push up first before bringing your hips, your arms are going to get smoked. So another way to think about it is as you come down to the ground, so my thighs and my chest are touching the ground, and after a lot of burpees, your thighs and your chest better be on the ground. I've never seen anyone totally fatigued doing their burpees with their chest touching the ground first and their thighs off. I don't do it. I'm usually on the ground here. So what I think about is peeling my chest off the ground first, so my butt's still on the ground, and then just think hips up to the ceiling, and then my feet are right there. So you want to peel your chest off the ground. You're not going to push up your hips first. You're going to peel that chest off the ground right to here, and then just think of popping your hips up to the ceiling, and then there your feet are. So that's another set of drills that you can do. So after you practice planting the hands, coming out to the plank several times, so about 10 times, your next drill is going to be simply, as you lower to the ground, peel off, and then bring your feet back in, come back to the ground, peel off, and then hips high, feet come back in, okay? And then notice like where I'm landing, my knees are literally in my armpits, but I don't think of my knees coming through first. I actually, again, think of my hips, just popping my hips as high as they can possibly get to help bring me off the ground, okay? So those are a couple things I want you guys to think about, is placing your hands right in front of your feet, and then right before my hands hit the ground, okay, that's where I think about extending my feet. So I don't plant the hands and then extend. I'm usually about to extend right before my hands touch the ground, okay? And that's the moment that I'm actually putting my hands down on the ground. So if you have been planting the hands, popping out, and then coming down, you're actually wasting a lot of time. You're actually gonna pop your feet out before your hands actually come down, okay? And then you're lowering down to the ground, so it's hips and chest down to the ground, peel off, hips to the ceiling, and then go ahead and stand it up. Last thing is, if you have to jump to some kind of a target, or you just kind of have to jump in general, the goal is to not jump and kind of have this like weird back bend. You actually want to stay a little bit more hollow and basically stay kind of over your feet or over your toes as you're jumping. And that's going to help you to stay a little bit quicker without feeling like your spine is kind of breaking all over the place. Oh, I have to like jump way up here. You want to stay hollow, you want to stay in this sort of concaveness as you're jumping towards whatever target, or if you have to jump to over whatever bar, just to keep everything nice and aligned. So hopefully you can try some of these tips when you go to your next burpees. I don't know if it will make you any faster. I mean, burpees take a lot of endurance, but those are kind of the key points that I wanted to touch on when you're attacking your burpees.